guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm having such a hard time trying not to crack up at myself right now, but somehow we made it to this point. Somehow we made it to the Boho bridal makeup tutorial, flower crown and all. I want to make it very clear just really quickly, this is not going to be a contender for my actual wedding day makeup. But after I did my last bridal tutorial, I got such a huge response from you guys, and so many people outside of my channel subscribed just for that tutorial alone. And I started thinking to myself, what if I did a few bridal looks that may not necessarily be for me on my wedding day, but might be for you guys on your wedding day. And I thought boho bridal is literally one of the biggest bridal trends going on right now. I can't tell you how many boho brides I've done makeup for this year, and I just thought, since that's such a popular look and it's trending right now, I was like, why not just have fun with it? Why not just grab a flower crown? I borrowed this flower crown from my actual wedding photographers and really great friends, Zach and Sarah Photography. I will put their link down below if you live in Tennessee and you're looking for wedding photographers. But I borrowed this flower crown and I was like, let's just go all out. Let's just do it. So this is the look that I came up with, and I feel like boho bridal has several different interpretations right now. Some people think of boho as being, you know, very minimal and hardly any makeup at all. Some think of it as being a little bit more on the rustic side. And then I've also seen several kind of edgy boho looks. So what I tried to do was keep this more on the rustic classic side, I guess is what I would call this. The eyes are very rustic, also very rusty, if you will. The shade that I use, I love it. But also I wanted to keep the face pretty classic so that it could be wearable for a lot of different people, but still, you know, kind of had that non-traditional vibe to it. So we are here, we are doing this right now. If you are interested in this boho bridal look, then let's go ahead and start. Let's get into it. Alright, so I have already moisturized my skin, and for a primer I'm using the Becca Shimmering Skin Perfector Liquid in the shade Opal, because our foundation combination today is going to be a little bit more on the matte side. I'm using my MAC Studio Fix Fluid foundation mixed with a little bit of the MAC Face and Body White foundation. This is the combination I use for most of my summer brides, and I will tell you the reason for that. MAC Studio Fix Fluid is very notorious to be long-lasting, full coverage, but it's not always the best for dry to normal skin types. So what I do is I mix in a little bit of my white MAC Face and Body, which is a phenomenal foundation. It's waterproof and it gives your face that skin-like texture. If a bride is very oily, then I will just stick with the MAC Studio Fix Fluid, but if you are on the normal to dry side, then mixing a little bit of Face and Body in just turns it into not only a waterproof foundation, but a long-lasting foundation. This lasts throughout heat so well, you guys. And moving on to concealer, I'm using the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Concealer. This is the same concealer I used in my last bridal tutorial. I just love this. I think it photographs great. It's not too heavy. It's not too thin. It's just that perfect medium. I'm not really applying a ton of it. I'm just applying a small amount to give some brightness to my under eye area, and I'm blending that out with my Real Techniques sponge. To set my under eye areas and certain parts of my face, I'm using the Makeup Forever HD Loose Setting Powder, and I'm just pressing that into my skin with a brush. You want to work with the least amount of powders as possible unless you do have oily skin. Then you kind of can just adjust the powder to your needs, but I try to keep everything very skin-like for bridal looks. Now moving on to bronzer, I'm using the Urban Decay Beach Bronzer in the shade Sunkissed. I'm using this mainly for the purpose of warming up my skin. Since I am more on the fair side right now, I don't have self-tan on. I really wanted to go in and first add some color back to my face before we did an actual contour. So I'm just applying that with my favorite MAC brush. I believe it's the 135. I will list it down below. I use it so much. I just got this brush maybe less than a year ago. I use it so much that the number has already rubbed off on it. So I'm just applying that all over, making sure to blend a little on my neck as well. For my actual contour, I'm using my NARS Tahiti Laguna bronzer with my It Cosmetics blush brush. This is the best brush to contour with. I absolutely love it. It just gives a natural contoured look. It's not too sharp like the NARS Ita brush is. So I'm just using that to add definition to my forehead, my jawline, and my natural contoured areas. Next, I'm just defining my contoured areas. This is kind of like a baking technique that will give you some coverage. Instead of using translucent powder, I'm using a powder foundation. I'm using my Bare Pro powder foundation, and I just picked up a little bit on a beauty blender that is not damp, and I just sculpted out the contoured areas on my cheeks. The reason I use a powder foundation is because when I use translucent powder, it actually removes my foundation. I have a really hard time of getting foundation to stay around my jawline for some crazy reason. So if you have that same problem, just use a powder foundation instead of translucent powder. For blush, I'm using the Lorac blush in the shade called Tinge. It's just a really nice light matte pink color. I just wanted something really neutral that really wasn't going to overwhelm the rest of my face. Moving into highlighter, I'm using my all-time favorite, and I will probably use this highlighter in every single bridal tutorial. This is what I use on brides for the majority of the time. Again, unless their skin may be a little bit more on the oily side, then I do use a powder highlighter. But Benefit What's Up is the most gorgeous highlighter in my opinion. It gives your face a really nice skin-like texture, especially if you've had to use a lot of powders. You just can't go wrong with it. I absolutely love it. Now we're going to move into the eyes, and this is a 2 shadow only eye look. I'm using the shade called Sunset from the Stila in the Lights palette. I do realize this palette is discontinued, so I will put some shadows down below that are very similar to this particular shade, but you really just want to use something that has a nice rusty tone to it. Obviously, if you're not into rust tones, then you can pick something that may have more of a taupe undertone or a cooler undertone, whatever you feel works best with your skin. But really all I'm doing is applying this to the lower portion of my lid and then gradually building it up into my crease. And this is a really nice color because it's almost multi-dimensional. Once you blend it out, it almost fades into what looks like a second color or maybe a transition shade. So all I'm doing is just carefully blending that out, making sure all of the edges, lines, everything is completely blended. Using that same shade, I'm just sweeping that underneath my lower lash line to give a little bit of extra definition. You can make the lash line as bare or as smoky as you want. You can kind of get away with either with this eye look since it is so simple. What I did was I actually just took a flat angled brush and I defined my lash line a little bit more just because I wanted it to be a tad bit more dramatic. And for my inner corner, I'm using the infamous Stila Kitten eyeshadow. This is an awesome inner corner highlight, just an awesome eyeshadow in general. They still make it, so it's definitely one of my favorites, especially when I want just that ultra highlighted inner corner. I'm using my favorite eyeliner of all time, which is MAC's Eye Kohl in the shade Teddy. It's an amazing rusty bronze brown shade. It just pairs perfectly with the eyeshadow that I used. So I'm just adding that to my inner waterline, inner rim of my eye, and also a little bit on my top lash line. And the reason I'm doing that is because we will be adding some individual falsies, and it just always looks better if you have a little bit of eyeliner around your lash bed. It will definitely make your lashes look fuller and thicker. So I'm just applying that and blending it out with a little bit of a dark brown shadow. For mascara, I'm using MAC's Extended Play Giga Black Lash Mascara, but you can use any type of waterproof mascara that you have on hand. And then I'm going in and applying some trio lashes. These are similar to individual lashes. They're just quicker to apply, and I also think that they give you a more voluminous effect. These are by Ardell, but I actually prefer the Kiss Trio lashes. I think they are a little bit fuller and, again, more voluminous than what these Ardell ones kind of showed off on camera and also in person. Moving on to lips, I'm applying a really nice neutral rosy lip trio, and I'm applying my MAC Whirl lip liner, and over the top I'm using MAC's Faux lipstick. This is such a popular bridal shade. If you like pink, this is just kind of a gray color that matches a lot of skin tones. And to top it off, I'm using the Anastasia lip gloss in the shade called Kristen, and that completes this boho bridal look. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I wanted to make it wearable for all skin tones. I wanted to make it achievable for everyone, not too complicated. I definitely think everyone can achieve this look. So I hope you enjoyed this installment of my second bridal makeup look. If you would like to see more looks, leave what you would like to see down below, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye. Live it up, live it up, live it up, live it up.